Hey guys, it's HitBTC here again with the Financial Drive-Thru, and it's good to be back. So we've got some good news in the markets. Bitcoin actually tested 12K again. Just before I drove out the house, I think it was about 11,700, 800 thereabouts. And yeah, Bitcoin dominance right now is almost at 70%. To be precise, it was actually at, I think, 68.2% when I drove out. So, you know, the rest of the altcoins are actually mostly in the red, but they're not too flush to the Bitcoin. So it's not that bad right now. I mean, the general question in most people's minds is what exactly is behind the surge in price. And right now it's looking like one of two things. So first of all, there's the interesting bit that Tether actually printed about 100 million USDT tokens in the past 24 hours. And historically, there's been a direct correlation between the printing of Tether tokens and, you know, the rise in the price of Bitcoin. And that's because Tether usually sends the Tether that they print to exchanges like Bitfinex, and again, that will pump the price. Now, they've been accused of manipulation a couple of times. There's been a lot of investigations going on into Tether and their CEO. And I say their CEO because what's actually interesting in this gist is that the Tether CEO happens to be one and the same with the CEO of Bitfinex, who is a very popular crypto exchange. So it kind of makes sense if it might be, you know, some foul play in there, but he's spoken out a few times against the investigations into his practices and says, you know, they really are keeping their hands clean and all that. They even had to do a couple audits, but what was interesting was they audited themselves. And so, I mean, really not sure what we're supposed to think about that, but okay. So yeah, there's 100 million USDT recently printed in the last 24 hours, which counts for a large part, I would say, in the price of Bitcoin. But there's also something which I think is a more present concern, and is something that I spoke about in my last video, and that is the US trade tension, right? So, you know, my last video, we're talking about the whole fact that Huawei was actually contributing to making their own cryptocurrency and how it might turn into a whole political thing. But then I did mention the US-China tensions as well. And right now it's blown to like a full scale. So for those of you who don't know the gist, Trump had basically accused China of going back on the deal that they had. And his own way of acting out on this was to put like 10% more tariffs on most of the Chinese imports. And China, you know, also not willing to sit back and take it, actually played their own hand as well. So China basically halted agricultural imports, and, you know, that was their own way of saying, well, take that, you know. Now, shortly after they did this, they went a step further and actually devalued the yen. And they did so, I think it went below the usual 7 per dollar mark. And I mean, the whole market is in chaos really, because this is the first time that's happened in the last 11 years or so. So it's a really big deal. As of this point, you know, the yen has gone back to its regular price, but I mean, people are still uncertain about what's going to happen. Now, what's particularly interesting is Bitcoin suddenly is now a safe haven to a bunch of investors, because people are identifying it as a hedge against what's going on.
So we started from the bottom, now we're here, girl.
A lot of money and, seriously, liquidity is the thing that's going to drive Bitcoin. And there are huge, massive, huge candles that have come in. Money flowing into our flagship crypto. And, I mean, it's a beautiful thing. We've just been seeing, like, you know, a lot of predictions coming to pass. McAfee actually had predicted that this would happen, and so he's probably having a field day right now. A friend of mine, Crypto Preacher, had also gone live on air and said the same thing. And so big ups to you, man. You saw this coming. It was good. Either way, though, it's quite interesting seeing how things are playing out. And obviously, I mean, with pumps this big, it's safe to expect some corrections down the line, especially when you think about the fact that savvy over-the-counter traders are probably going to use this to their advantage and at some point short the market just to make, you know, the less trade savvy retail investors feel it, I guess. But still, for now, we're all celebrating the price of Bitcoin. It's looking good. Will Bitcoin drop back down in price? anytime soon. There's really no way to tell. Some people feel it'll go all the way down to 6K. I would be very happy to see Bitcoin drop all the way that much. If it does, kudos. The plan it will be to buy more at that point. I guess what I really am curious about now is what people think about what's going on in the market. Are you feeling this? Do you see this going to affect you in any way? I mean, do you still, because I know there are a lot of people who still don't believe that Bitcoin is going anywhere, but right now with all the tensions in the market, with all that's going on and everything, and then with China also thinking about making their own cryptocurrency, obviously Trump is going to get woke pretty soon to the fact that the US is not doing themselves any favors by actually holding out so long against Bitcoin, and it's something that people need to start to consider. And obviously it may seem like it's a bit late, but I still feel that we are still in the early adoption phase of Bitcoin because we're ahead of regulations. And sure, this is probably the best time for people to actually start picking some up and, you know, making bank. All I'm saying is now is the time, people, okay? And it's, you know, it might seem a bit funny because every time there's a pump in price, you know, you see people on YouTube going, now's the time, but it's always the time. I've said it and I'll keep saying it. There's no wrong time to buy Bitcoin. You know, what we're also seeing is a lot of other countries are actually taking crypto regulations quite seriously. The US, well, I guess they're doing the same. It's just, you know, they seem to have way more pushback than other people. And you know, what's really going to happen is, especially right now with what's going on, we're seeing Chinese tech investors who are actually in the US, they're pulling back because they're uncertain about what's going to happen. People who are already on board are also thinking, well, you know, we need to reduce the amount of money that we put in here because they also fear that very soon Trump might turn his sights to them and everything is going to be all crazy again. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. And as always, if you like this kind of content, you know what to do. Like, subscribe, stay tuned for more. See you in the next one. Cheers.